Close your eyes for a second. You only get one life, one chance, and every single day you're making a choice to become who you're meant to be or to stay where you are, because one day it's all going to end. And the real question is, will you be proud of how you lived or regret the life you never chased? It always feels like you have control until life proves you don't. I am going to tell you a real life story about my friend. He has spent years building his life around one thing. It wasn't just a job. It was his identity, his purpose, the thing that made him feel like he mattered. For a long time, everything seemed to be working. He was moving forward. People respected him. He believed he was exactly where he was supposed to be. Until one day, it all collapsed. He didn't just lose his position. He was pushed out. The very thing he had built, the thing he gave everything to, was taken away from him. And it wasn't quiet. People knew, people talked overnight. He went from being respected to being seen as a failure. That was the first hit, and it broke something inside him. For weeks, he couldn't think straight. He kept replaying everything in his head. What did I do wrong? Was I ever good enough? Was any of it even real? The confidence he once had was gone, but life wasn't done with him yet, because losing his work was only the beginning. Not long after, he started losing some deeper direction. Every morning, he woke up with no plan, no structure, no next step, just silence days blurred together. He watched the world move forward while he stood still. People around him were building, growing, succeeding, and he felt left behind. That was the second hit, not the loud kind, the quiet kind, the kind that slowly convinces you that maybe this is all you'll ever be. He started isolating himself, avoiding conversations, avoiding questions because he didn't have answers. And the worst part, he began to believe it, that maybe he had already reached his peak, that maybe this was the end of his story. But life had one more test for him, because when you lose your work and your direction, what's left is how you see yourself. And that started to fall apart too. That was the third hit. He looked in the mirror one day and didn't recognize the person staring back, not because of how he looked, but because of who he had become. Doubt replaced belief, fear replaced ambition. He questioned everything, his decisions, his abilities, his worth. For the first time in years, he felt completely lost. And this time there was no one to blame, no system, no people, just him. That was the lowest point, the moment where most people stop, where most people accept that it's over. And for a while, he almost did, but something didn't sit right, because even after everything he lost, there was one thing that hadn't changed. He still loved what he did, not the title, not the recognition, the work itself. And that realization changed everything, because for the first time, he wasn't trying to prove anything. He wasn't chasing approval. He was simply starting again. From nothing, no expectations, no pressure, just curiosity. He began working on small ideas, learning again, building again, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. And slowly something shifted. The weight he had been carrying started to lift. He became more creative, more fearless. Because when you've already lost everything, you stop being afraid of losing. What once felt like the end became a reset. And over time, those small steps turned into something bigger. New opportunities, new paths, new success, but more importantly, a new version of himself, stronger, clearer. And years later, when he looked back at that moment, the moment he thought destroyed his life, he realized something most people never understand. Losing everything was the best thing that ever happened to him, because it forced him to let go of who he thought he was and become who he was meant to be. Sometimes life doesn't break you, it rebuilds you, but only if you don't give up when everything falls apart. I want you to hear this. One day life is going to hit you with something that makes no sense, something you didn't ask for, something you didn't deserve. And in that moment, it's going to feel like everything is falling apart. But what if it's not? What if that moment is actually your turning point? Because sometimes the thing that breaks you is the thing that reveals you. Sometimes what feels like a loss is actually a reset. Life doesn't always give you what you want, but it gives you what you need, just not in the way you expect. So stop judging your life by how it looks right now, because the worst chapter might be setting up your greatest one. You're not stuck. You're being redirected. And the moment you choose to see it differently, everything changes. A new path, a new version of you. It all starts with one decision: to keep going.